it continues to sustain me in how I choose to live my life. Unitarian Universalism is an inclusive faith with open hearts and open minds. We have differing beliefs regarding the deities or the lack of them. However, we come together with the goal of making this place, this community, this world a better place now and in the future. We have some brown books at the end of each aisle, and we ask that you fill that out and pass it down. We also welcome everyone to coffee after the service in the Nelson Hall. There's a stairway directly outside the sanctuary and an elevator. Both will take you to the social hall. Today's speaker is Reverend Angelica Roth. She is a metaphysician.
No coffee downstairs.
No coffee downstairs.
Sorry. So we'll just chat in the
Yeah, we can chat up here. That'll work. Actually, I like the talkbacks up here better. I mean, it's a little more personal. Angelica came to Flint from Arizona in 2007 and has been very active in the community ever since. She is the founder of Earth and Sky Center and Alley Cat Angels of America. She is passionate about everything she does, and while she loves traveling and teaching throughout the U.S. and Canada, she also really cares about the local community. She is a Reiki master of 8 different lineages of Reiki and loves to teach Reiki. She sees it as the core foundation for living an amazing and meaningful life. She leads weekly life talks on her YouTube channel and also offers sound journey healing concerts as well as one-on-one sessions. She is always on the move, really always on the move, goodness, and willing to help others wherever she can. She teaches a wide variety of classes through the Dragonfire teachings, including Dragonfire Reiki, all levels of Usui Holy Fire 3 Reiki, shamanism, and much, much more. I really see her becoming the next Marianne Williamson in our community, and I am so proud to have her with us today. Now please help me welcome Reverend Roth.
Thank you so much. It feels so good to be back here again. I love this community here. I love the Unitarians and the openness that I always feel in the Unitarian churches. So I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I want you to take a moment to greet each other as well. So I want you to talk to 2 people that are near you and tell them what your name is and also something that you're grateful for. Just to kind of welcome you back, I think it's really nice to get to know people around you better. I think that that's something that we need more in our society, being able to acknowledge each other, whether it's people that you know and oftentimes people that you don't know. When you find common ground, when you start thinking about what you're grateful for, when you start recognizing that whoever it is that's around you, whether it's at a grocery store or somewhere that might be stressful or a coworker or wherever you are, when you start recognizing how much we have in common with each other and the gratitude that we can have, the fact that those things that we usually want the most in our lives, safety, family, love, all of those things, are things that cross all cultural boundaries. And when we start seeing those similarities within each other, that's when the magic starts happening of really opening up relationships within our lives and being able to extend that love out to each other. I really appreciate each and every single one of you for coming here today. And we're going to go ahead and move into the chalice lighting. Do you want to catch the slides up? Will the slides work? I have a few words that I'm going to read here in just one moment here. And I love the magic of technology. We always know that there will be things that are unexpected when we are working with technology. As we light the sacred flame, may we see the light that emits and rises. It turns to smoke and rises to air. It reaches the breath of all who are near. Exhaling, that light travels farther and farther till every one of us are touched. For truly, we are all one. May we support each other. This is a perfect example, supporting each other, as we also share love and peace. May we light the way for each other, for as we do, we light the way for ourselves too. I love really putting a lot of intention and consciousness into the chalice lighting, because it's a symbol of, not only just a symbol of that light that rises and begins to expand throughout our lives, it also really does a lot energetically in the room. It begins to, the essence of fire is able to clear away, to cleanse any emotions that have been overcharged or anything that we need to release out from us. I often teach in classes to do candle meditations regularly, where you look at the candle and you just allow yourself to relax as you see the energy of that candle flame grow in front of you. You can release your anger to the fire, release your hurt to the fire, and notice that as it continues to burn, it creates more and more light all around us, and it allows that light to flow through your life, to release completely whatever needs to release. As the smoke rises to the air, the wax eventually just begins to dissolve and you can't see it anymore. So too our heavy emotions can clear away as that fire burns.
Now we will recite the covenant. Recognizing the richness of diversity, the beauty and wonder of shared worship, and the transforming power of love and service, we gather as a sacred, intentional community to freely seek knowledge and truth, to celebrate the fullness of life, and by our actions to increase goodness and justice.
And I always feel like it's a really nice thing to center ourselves at the start. So I'm going to do just a brief meditation. During this time, if you would like, you can come up and light a candle either for joys or for sorrow. If you want to light a candle for yourself or for someone else, allow the radiance of all of the light that's being built up in this space today to flow through you and within your heart. There are candles on the table. As you light them, you can set them in the sand, and the intentions that we put up today will flow out to whatever it is that you're requesting within your life. So feel free to just begin to focus on your breath a moment too as I start a short meditation. So please feel free to come up whenever you wish to light that candle. And just begin to focus in on your breath. Beginning to allow everything else to release away, to clear away. Any stress of the week, it just begins to dissolve as the sound of the bowls flows through you and around you. As you breathe, just allow yourself to relax. And within your mind, it's as though you can see the stars above you. And through the light of the stars, a ray of hope begins to shine down from the highest of the heavens. And it begins to fill this entire space. It fills this room. And as you open your heart, the light of hope begins to flow into you fully, completely, and wholly. Nothing exists in this moment except your peace. The light and the love of the universal, unconditional, radiant love. You are loved beyond measure. Unconditionally and completely, just as you are, who you are. You are here for a reason. And as you allow your awareness to come fully present within your body, within your mind, anything else just completely clears away, and all that exists is this service here, today, now, in this moment. If you have any specific requests for healing within your life, allow that request to go up to the light, whatever name you call the divine, allow that request to go up. And we ask that the light of healing flow through all of the words and through the energies in this space today within each of us. The next slide. I wanted to talk to you about 3 hidden gems for a joyful life today. As you allow your breath to bring you back in the fullness of your consciousness here. And these 3 gems are all concepts of the Kabbalah. I really love acknowledging a lot of different faiths. I think that that's one of the reasons I love the Unitarian churches so much, is because it's inclusive of all of the different faiths. And these 3 tips that I'm going to be giving today are things that you can utilize in your life wherever, whatever your faith is, whatever your background is. And it's a way to simplify ways that you can bring joy limitlessly into your life, and ways that you can find out what your purpose is, how to heal those things that are most needing to be healed within your life, those things that your soul decided on the other side before you came here, and very easy to understand steps of how to do that. The Kabbalah has a wealth of information, and so the first spiritual rule and tools. I don't necessarily like the word rule all the time, so know that it does, if you're somebody that doesn't use the word rule per se, know that these are just properties of the universe. In the same way that the apple that falls from a tree shows gravity because it will always hit the ground, these are same things that will always be true within your life. So when you recognize those, you can utilize it in a way that really brings that wisdom in to allow you to achieve the life of your dreams, to do the things that you really wish to do. And so that first rule is to reveal the light. You need to act like the light. Whatever we're doing in life, no matter what properties that no matter what career you're in, no matter what type of family you have, when you want to reveal the light, simply acting like the light is going to start bringing more of that light into your life. What we focus on is what we attract, and what we focus on is what we start bringing more and more into ourselves. You may have noticed in your own life that if you go through times and periods where maybe you get really frustrated or really angry, I think we've had a bit of some fluxes over the last couple years of waves of emotions that have gone kind of around the country at different points and surged. And you may notice that when you go through periods where you're very frustrated and you're very angry, it seems like that just continues, and then more things add on to it and more things add on to it, and it just gets to where it feels so big. And by that same way, when you go through periods of your life and you feel like, wow, everything's going really good, I feel really happy, things just keep falling into place, those same patterns will continue over a long period of time as well. Because what we focus on, we attract. But we're also here to learn to do things in different ways all of the time too. We're here to have different experiences. So if we didn't have trials and struggles that happen to us, we would never be able to realize how high our heights of joy can be, because we can only understand and have the capacity for the amount of joy that we've also understood and experienced sorrow. It gives us our gauge for how happy you can be and how much you've experienced the opposite of that as well. But through those experiences that we have through this life, we have an ability to start integrating the wisdom of each of those lessons. So each time there's a challenge that comes through, or each time you feel those heavier emotions coming through, when you start to run it through a filter of thinking, okay, what is this here to teach me? And how do I not just succumb to whatever emotion is coming my way or whatever seems to be a new pattern? I know my husband and I had recently had a period where it felt like things were going really good for quite a while. And then all of a sudden we had about 2 weeks of just absolute craziness, lots of different losses and a whole lot of different things. And so it was a time that we needed to recognize we needed to pause within ourselves. We needed to realize that if we can, if you let yourself get succumbed to that, or you let it wash over and take over you, then your emotions start to spiral out, and that energy will spiral out to more and more and more things. So one of the things that we did, it was actually just this month that we had these really intense couple of weeks. And so we paused within ourselves, because that's the number one tool, your first tool, when things are going a little bit crazy and you feel like you need to react to something. Pause instead and think, what a pleasure this is. And that can be hard sometimes, because if you're dealing with loss, or you're dealing with something that feels very unfair or unjust, it can be hard to try and think what a pleasure this is, because our human mind says, no, I don't think so. This was terrible, and I shouldn't have had this happen to me, and it's unfair. But instead, the light is always wanting us to be blessed. The light is always there in our corner, wanting us to learn the lessons that we need to learn so that we can have an abundant, radiant, joy-filled life. And we need those challenges to stretch that out so that we can have greater capacity for joy. I know I've had times in my life where sometimes I felt like I just couldn't cope anymore. I didn't think I could get through it. I wasn't sure how I would make it to the next day. And when you take time in those moments to really pause and think, there is a reason for this happening. It is not that I'm being punished by the universe. It is not that there's a huge amount of karma that is due that's just raining down on me. It's that there's a lesson. And the greater the challenge that comes in, the greater the lesson, the more beautiful the blessing is going to be that's going to come in. And so that spiritual tool number one is to pause and to think, what a pleasure this is. And sometimes maybe the only thing you can muster up to start for that pleasure is to think, thank goodness it's over. And that can be a starting gratitude. But there's also a saying that the past is never painful, but the present is what is painful. And that is because when you look back at the past and you look at the things that seemed maybe insurmountable or were simply just so hard to get through, or you didn't understand why you had such a tough amount of grief or anger or whatever it is, when you look back at it, you can actually look back and reflect and figure out, why did that happen? What was the reason? What did I learn from that? What blessings came from that? If you have someone very close to you that you loved dearly and they were taken from you, and it always seems like it's too soon. I don't think there's normally a good time for when we would choose to have somebody close to us to die. It never feels just in the moment, but you can look back on it afterwards and remember all of the good memories, all of the things that came, all of the ways that you grew through that, all of the ways that maybe you even grew through the process of that person dying, when sometimes death can provide an amazing amount of lessons that come through. We can find these points of really connecting and feeling the presence of the divine around us so closely when we stand in the presence of somebody in those moments. And so when we look back and we can see what those lessons were or what those blessings were, it takes the pain out of the past and it allows us to find the gratitude that fills us that we can then carry into the future as well. So finding those moments, spiritual rule number 1, to reveal the light, act like the light. The tool for that is to pause and to think, what a pleasure. And the secret to ending negative patterns is understanding reactive consciousness, because it can be very hard. Oftentimes we spend a lifetime in the patterns that we've built, and we may have a lifetime of whether it's feeling like life is unjust or life is unfair, or patterns of being angry, or patterns of whatever those negative, harder emotions are. It can be hard to break those. And so the main thing to help break those is to recognize when you're being reactive, because when you don't pause, you're simply reacting. Sometimes we can have reactions that might be in a positive way or they might be in a negative way, but when we're reacting instead of pausing and consciously choosing it, then we're just being carried by the moment of our emotions, by that simple whim of what is in that present moment that's deciding for us how we want to react, which way we want to turn, what emotions fuse up out of us. And all of the time, when you're in reactive consciousness, you're being controlled by either external lack or internal lack. So when it's external lack, that's when sometimes we feel like there are things outside of us that if we only had, let's say if you're struggling a lot with finances and you're not sure how to make the next mortgage payment or rent payment, and you just feel like if I only had money, then I would be so much better. And if I only had money, then I could fix my life and life would go in the right way. But it's not really that. Or sometimes people feel like if I only had a better car, if I only had a spouse that actually cared about me instead of yelled at me, if I only had something else that's outside of yourself, but that's not actually going to fix anything, because it has to come from within ourselves. And as you change within yourself, as you pause instead of reacting, as you start to realize that the light is all around you and loves you, and you allow yourself to act like the light, even if you feel like somebody doesn't really deserve it that you're talking to, if you act like the light in those situations, you're going to draw more and more of that to you all the time. And internal lack is another really big one that I see. It's just a natural part of the human struggle, I think, that we have to very consciously work through. Internal lack is lack, fear, doubt, when you feel like maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I don't know enough, maybe this person won't be willing to accept me, or maybe it's all of those questions that sometimes get our mind whirling and trying to figure out, are we able to meet up to the task? When you start to recognize instead that you really do have everything that you need inside you, it's already there. You're made from the light. It's what animates you. It's what your soul is. We come here into this 3D physical world, and it becomes hard to remember that sometimes, because this world is pretty heavy. And a lot of times we have big challenges. Sometimes our soul on the other side, before we come here decides on what these challenges are, and then as soon as we come into this world, we think, how would I ever have chosen that? Because there's no way I would have chosen that. I wouldn't have wanted life to be this hard. But the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. So really start monitoring, when do you have that feeling of external lack? When do you have that feeling of internal lack? And instead, simply pause and recognize that reactive consciousness. And then that next step then is going to think, what a pleasure this is. And there are really two modes for the reactive consciousness, that two modes that you can go into for the soul and the ego. So that part of us that really feels like we can be like the light, the part of us that recognizes when a situation is tough and you go over and maybe you support somebody else that you know is going through a tough time and you give them a shoulder to lean on, though that's when you're starting to become more similar to the light. And in those times in your life where you feel like you're up against insurmountable odds and you've been through so much, maybe over the last couple of years, you've been through so much and you're not sure how you can ever get back to what you want life to be, recognize that the light is already in you. And as you start being proactive instead of reactive, you're going to start noticing that you're attracting the things to you that are what you want it to be in life. And that's going to empower the voice of your soul. The voice of your soul and the voice of your ego often are kind of going against each other. Sometimes the voice of the opponent is one of the things we'll get to in just a little bit. But when you're being reactive, then that's being different from the light, and that's where the ego is coming in. So one of the examples of this would be, let's say if you had asked somebody to do something for you. Maybe you have a family member and you just wanted them to do the dishes or some type of task around the house, or it could have been a friend that you asked, and then you were very disappointed when you found out they didn't do it, and you get a little frustrated. Maybe you had a really long day and you're thinking, that was such a simple thing. I just needed you to do that one thing. And it starts to boil up and you kind of get mad at them or you yell at them about, why couldn't you have just done this one thing? I feel like I'm always doing this. And you're really looking for that support. But what you're yelling about has nothing to do with the dishes. It has nothing to do with the one situation that's in front of you. It's that reactive consciousness that's coming through because part of your soul doesn't feel like you have what you wanted within yourself. You feel like you're struggling with lack, fear, doubt, feeling alone, isolated, any of those different emotions, and you're not asking for the help with the dishes, you're asking to be acknowledged. You're asking for them to recognize that you matter too, to recognize that they feel when you're tired, to recognize those things. And so when you go into that reactive consciousness and you start to kind of get a little bit short with them or get frustrated with them, instead, if you learn to pause instead and you approach it from a different side of recognizing that maybe you can talk to them about it instead of yelling at them about why they didn't do it, perhaps say, what was going on? I don't know, did you forget to do this? If you could, I'd really appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me, and I'm really exhausted, and you can kind of work towards getting on the same page with it instead. And that same thing goes through the other way too. If somebody else gets upset with you, sometimes it may feel to you very unjust. Maybe they had asked you to do the dishes or vacuum or something like that. Or it could be a coworker that had asked you for something, and you may have had a day that was very, very full, and maybe you forgot, or maybe you just feel like you didn't have time, or maybe you didn't feel like it was important. Whatever the reason is, instead of having excuses for it that reactive consciousness loves to have us do, reactive consciousness just feeds off of those excuses and feeds off of those different emotions. Instead, if you pause and you recognize what that person was asking for was not really about the task. It was about recognizing that they needed something. They needed something within their soul. They needed to be acknowledged. They needed to have support within their life. And that goes whether it's coworkers or friends or family, but recognizing what's beneath the surface whenever those heavier emotions come up. And oftentimes when it really gets into that reactive consciousness, it's because there's probably a whole list of things from the past that have been bubbling up, and very likely not even about the person that is your target. So it's really important to recognize when you feel that reactive consciousness coming up that wants to just act, say, do, whatever, before you really think and before you know what it is you're saying, then instead pause. And don't even feed it the energy that you are going to feed it. Instead, pause, recognize what you're grateful for. I think that's one of the keys for sustaining long marriages too, is recognizing what you're grateful for about the other person, even when those times are tougher. When you're really upset with them, can be one of the best times to recognize the gratitude that you have for them, or for coworkers, for anybody in your life, because that's going to help calm down that reactive consciousness and allow you to be proactive, which will allow the ego to calm down and quiet, and allow the light of your soul to get bigger, the voice of your soul to get stronger, which will then increase so much with the strength within you as well. And then the second spiritual tool is to recognize, the second spiritual rule is recognizing that your life is a perfect plan designed to help you with your soul's correction, or tikkun is the word that we use in Kabbalah. Tikkun represents that thing that your soul is supposed to come here to learn, to do, to overcome. We actually have several different tikkuns that will come up throughout our lifetime, but the primary tikkun that you have is going to be something that showed up in early childhood that continues to persist off and on throughout your life until you finally reach this point where you recognize it and you pull out of that reactive consciousness and you start to recognize that you are the director of your movie, which is the tool number 2. This learning to ask, why is this in my movie? I think that oftentimes people can fairly easily fall into that victim consciousness at different points in our life, and no one likes to think of themselves as that. I think most people would say, I'm definitely not a victim, yet oftentimes we have points in our life where we flow in and out of that victim mentality, and that's where we start to forget that we chose before we even came here what we wanted to learn in this life. And most souls don't come here just to have an easy coast, get through it, move on to whatever that next experience is. We come here so that we can learn, so we can build relationships, so we can grow, but we have to go through those hard things because that's when we really learn the most. Just like classes in school, those harder classes sometimes are the ones that are filled with even more knowledge. So learning to be grateful for those harder times that come up in your life, because that's what's awakening this awareness of what the tikkun is within you. There are different aspects within astrology where you can learn to see through the North Node what your tikkun is, but an easier way to do it is simply to look back from the way you felt from childhood. What were the things that bothered you the most? What were the things that you felt like really were maybe traumatizing a bit? I think most people have certain aspects of childhood that felt traumatizing, and there's a reason for that. That's because our family are key players in the movie that is our life to help us with awakening that tikkun within us. Our family members are ones that are in our life that usually, no matter how much they push, we will let them get away with a lot more than we would let anybody else in our life get away with because they're family. Sometimes we do have to draw certain boundary lines, but that is built in that way so that we can have that tikkun, the button of our tikkun pressed and awakened and charged up throughout the childhood. And then hopefully as you grow, you start learning to recognize what those things are and really pull in the ability to pause whenever you feel that, whether it's fear or whether it's abandonment or whether it's, all of the different childhood issues that people can have. Recognize what those are. Think back on your life about when those issues pinged back in, what things triggered that within you, and that's going to bring you a long way into being able to pause, to recognize what that message is actually for, why it actually happened, and the main tool for that is to ask, why is this in my movie? So being able to really think within yourself, put yourself within your mind in the director's chair of your life and recognize that every single thing that is in your life, every single person, those that you love, those that drive you absolutely crazy, that all of those are key players in your life to help you discover your cocoon so you can evolve, so you can grow even more. And when you recognize, when you pull yourself out of your present awareness of feeling like you're surrounded in it, you rise up maybe to the level of eagle, as we talk in shamanism, where you can look down at your life and you can see the overall picture. You can see why things that had once felt so painful you then learned from, and you recognize you needed to go through that because that awakened this other blessing, or that brought these other people to you, or the next part of your journey, or whatever it is. But you recognize that this is your movie. You are the director. You have the ability to pull out of that reactive consciousness to be like the light, and that can be so very, very empowering within your life. So that's one of the things I'd like to ask you to do this next week, is to at least once a day to translate your external messages into internal messages of cocoon. If we can get the next slide, the recognizing the external messages, those are the things that happen throughout your day-to-day life. Those are the things that challenge you, as we were just talking about, external things where you feel like it's out of your control. You feel like it had nothing to do with you, perhaps. It had everything to do with these other situations. And instead you recognize it's not out of your control. It's not about the other person. It's not about the fact that how could your car die when you needed it the most, or how could this person walk out on you when you needed them the most, or whatever the situations are. Why did you lose your job when you needed it the most? Recognizing, instead of feeling that you were powerless in it, or instead of feeling like it happened to you, know that there was a reason that happened at that exact moment in your life, and it was so that you could reap these amazing blessings as you recognize that you are the director of your movie, and it's not about just fixing it and going back to the way it was. It's about learning, why did that happen? What knowledge, wisdom, and blessings can I carry forward? And then opening to the light to bring the later blessings that will be ready for you at that point. Which then brings us into our spiritual rule number 3, which is overcoming the opponent within reveals the power of our soul. And this is where it can be sometimes tricky at first to recognize, where is it the opponent within, and where do your inner messages need to stop? A lot of times we have so many thoughts that pop into our head. I know I've talked to people that they feel like their brain is always swirling. They're always trying to figure out, should they have said this? Should they have done that? Maybe they should have done something different. How do they find the right words for this? And like all of these thoughts that are just constantly swirling. Sometimes it keeps people up at night as they're trying to figure out the what ifs and all of that. And all of that extra chatter that creates lack, fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, all of that is the voice of the opponent. And the voice of the opponent loves to fuel and to feed on your ego. The voice of the opponent loves to let you feel like you're powerless, or that you're a victim of things, or that you can't change. And that is all lie. That is all illusion. You have such tremendous power within you because you are the light. You're made from the light. You have the fullness of the light within you. So the spiritual tool number 3 is to observe the voice of the opponent and to recognize when it pops in. It's not about trying to shut it down completely, or some people will talk about killing the ego or really rejecting it completely. It's not about that. It's about recognizing it. And when you hear those messages of lack, fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, any of that, listen to what it says and then just say no to it. Recognize it. Allow yourself, you might even at first find yourself out loud saying, no, that's not true. No, I'm not acknowledging that. No, I will not accept that. And then you might say out loud, I am the light. I'm made of the light. And then whatever message is a positive message, whatever message you want to embody within your life, how you want your life to be, see that that is already there because you're creating it in these amazing worlds that are above and around you. And the more you focus on that and you start creating that all around you through the mental level, you're going to start bringing that into the physical level. But you need to know that you're worthy of it. You need to know that you can pause instead of just reacting. And as you do, you'll be able to find this amazing balance starts to flow in. The voice of the opponent will get quieter and quieter, and the voice of your soul will begin to emerge. And the voice of your soul is so much more powerful than the voice of the opponent ever could be, because the voice of the opponent is full of lies and illusion. And instead, when you listen to the voice of your soul, you'll be able to really rise up into living the life of your dreams and what you deserve to have within yourself. And so for the final steps for this, so thinking about how you're going to carry this forward in your life, being able to recognize, I want you to not just think that these were great words for today, but to really apply these throughout the coming weeks and to really put down on your calendar when you're wanting to have little reminders to tell you maybe once a week, remember to pause, remember to listen to the voice of the opponent, remember to ask, why is this in my movie? The more you do that, the more you're going to be able to see this continuing to come through amazingly within your life. So always pausing when you feel like you're going to react. Pause, ask, why is this in my movie? Observe the voice of the opponent, say no to that voice, and embrace the light. Allow the voice of your soul to shine. Know that the voice of your soul is limitless and amazing, and embrace the process, knowing that you can ask the light for help as well. The light is always there. Whatever name you call the essence of the divine, it's always there. It's always wanting to help you to, the next slide, to the light of the light is always there and always listening and wanting to help you as well. Know that you are creating your life. Know that you choose with every single thought, with every single deed, with every single action, with every single thing that you say to yourself. You are creating your life. You are the director of your movie, and you have the ability to do this within yourself. I do also recommend, I have on the bottom of that, Kabbalah.com, if you're interested in more things like this as well. Kabbalah.com has a Kabbalah 1 class, and this is just a tiny snippet of what they teach. I don't have any affiliation with them other than that I love their classes as well. They do have pay as you can right now because of COVID, so you can take the classes for free or pay or whatever feels right to you. But I feel so much like these messages can resonate with so many people. In that class, you would learn 10 different tools and rules and how to implement those, but these are my favorite. After years of Kabbalah study, these are definitely my favorites here. And then, I'm not sure if we have the music for that.
I think we can go to time for
Okay. Oh.
We had it on this, but you're going to have to sing it a cappella, and I don't have a musician.
Okay, no, that's fine. So I just want to say thank you so much to each of you, and I hope this really helps with things that you can implement into your life, really empowering you within your life. And there's a few more slides they can flip through as well. And so for some of the closing words, I just want you to, I guess one of the main things that I want you to feel after this is to know that you are empowered, to know that you have the fullness of everything you possibly could need within you. It's already there. It's just about tapping into that, learning to believe in yourself, learning to recognize how to pause, how to ask why is this in my movie, quieting that voice of the opponent and believing in yourself, because I know I believe in every single one of you, even those that I haven't met before and those that I met a couple years ago. I really believe in each of you because I see this light that's in you, And these simple and effective tools can bring clarity, direction, and allow you to hear the voice of your soul. As you create the habit where you learn to pause and ask, you have the power to choose your destiny. You have the ability to write your own fate. We're not just swaying in with whatever the consciousness has destined for us. You have great capacity within you to create the life of your dreams. Now, in this life, in this moment, you're never too old, you're never too young. There are no circumstances that will prevent you from this as you learn to believe in yourself. I'd like to do the extinguishing, or wait, the,
We got to do the
yes, thanks.
Okay, time for generosity. Wow, thank you, Angela. That gives me some wonderful things to think about incorporating in my life. And thinking about and incorporating is also important in Unitarian Universalism. One of our shared principles is a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Today's service has given me new ideas to think over for myself. We really, as a church, we really enjoy having people from many different backgrounds as guest ministers in the summer. We appreciate any contributions you feel guided to give as we pass the baskets around. Please enjoy once more the soothing sounds of the Tibetan singing bowls by Reverend Roth. And the ushers can do their... Oh, as you leave? Okay.
I'll play the bowls for a moment still. As you listen to the sound of the bowls, you might want to close your eyes for a moment and allow yourself to digest the information from today, allowing the sounds and the healing to flow through you and over you. And if there's anything in your life, any part where you're seeking healing, you're seeking wisdom, whatever it is you seek, allow that to rise within your mind. And then allow that to release away as you begin to breathe out. As we raise the voice of what we wish within our lives, and then we breathe it out to the universe. We trust the universe to carry these wishes, these desires into the light, as the light will flow back down to you, through you, within you, around you. You may for a moment begin to visualize that you are out at the ocean and you can feel the sand beneath your toes. You can hear the sound of the ocean waves. And you notice that as you listen to the sound of your breathing, it sounds right in line with the sound of the ocean waves. As you breathe in, the waves roll up on the shore. And as you breathe out, they roll back out to sea. as you breathe into yourself, you feel the warmth of the sun on your back, allowing yourself within your mind to step out into the ocean as you feel the water swirling over your feet and around your ankles, and walking back out to the sand. The ocean has released what needed to be released and cleared. The light of the sun brings clarity for what you need to learn, what you need to know, that may be awakened within you in whatever way is best for you, whatever way is best for your soul, for your life, in the way that you choose. And you begin to feel yourself slowly coming back into your body. As you begin feeling yourself within your mind, returning into your body and into this room, envisioning within your mind's eye what the room looks like before you open your eyes. And allowing yourself to feel the light refreshed within you. May the light bless you. May it heal your body, your bones, your muscles, your soul, your thoughts, your mind, wherever you need healing within your life. I ask that those blessings flow into you now. And if we can say in unison the chalice, extinguishing of the chalice. As the wheel turns, so our cycle grows. As the candle flame burns, so too comes the time to rest. Through the breath we have shared in the energy of the flame. Through breath do we find words to share love, support, and encouragement. Even as this flame goes out, the flame within our hearts lives on. May we light the way for each other, for as we do, we light the way for ourselves too. Know that you can do this. What will you choose? We choose every day, every moment, what our future is. We're creating in this moment what our legacy will be in the future. You have the full power of everything in the universe in this moment with you, carrying you forward.
Have words for leaving, but we're not leaving. We're getting to do a question and answer period. I have 100 million questions in me, so I always love the talk backs. Angel, if you want to go sit on the stool down there and make yourself a little more available. Anyone that has a question, feel free. And may we remember these thoughts in our upcoming week and use them for our best.
Hold on, I'll play the pass the mic.
Okay.
And we're going to kill that mic, and I'm going to have you use this mic.
Me. Why me?
Yeah, you get that mic.
Why do I get a mic? I'm not doing anything.
Oh, so she gets the mic.
She gets the mic. Angela
It's
gets it.
so complicated. There's before everyone leaves, there is coffee downstairs. Oh, is it? Is it? Okay. I thought because we had a renter down there.
She saved the day.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
My name is Harold Angela. I'm a member here. I have a few comments and then a few questions, if I might. First of all, I loved your focus. Obviously, there were some pieces of the script that did not turn out as perhaps they should have. The lack of music, for example. But
okay, that's life sometimes.
you remained focused. I love that. I also liked very much your positivity. Your positivity is infectious. I have two questions for you. The singing bowls were wonderful. Is there a recording that you would recommend? Because I love listening to stuff like that when I'm about to go to sleep at night or trying to meditate. Do you have a recording that you recommend?
I do. I have several on YouTube. I put videos out every Sunday doing different life talks, and sometimes I do the singing bowl meditations instead. I also lead sound baths or singing bowl concerts once a month at our center, but online on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Earth and Sky Center.
YouTube channel .com?
youtube.com slash or
Okay.
front slash Earth and Sky Center.
Okay.
Yep, we have several there, so yeah.
Okay.
A-N-D, spelled out, yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks. One more question, then I'll turn over the mic. How did you find this calling? How did you come into this?
Oh, that's so funny that you ask. I've actually been thinking about that lately. I'm starting to work on writing a book. And so that was something I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks. Since I was very young, I've always been drawn to understanding the mysteries on the other side. When I was 19, my martial arts teacher asked me if I would teach meaning to the students. And at that point, I was like, how do I teach meaning or meaning of life when I'm a teenager? Basically, he wanted me to teach the other students. And that kind of opened that pathway, I think, within my mind, just him asking that. And since I've taught classes most of my life at different points. And when I first became a minister, I've been ordained three different times with different faiths, and it just felt natural to me, I think. When I first founded our center, it was actually at Pam's house on the 3rd floor of her beautiful home that we started our Sunday services, and now I travel with it. So, but I think I always felt that within my soul. I've always seen the light in people. I always see that bright light of the soul in every single person, and I think I just feel a strong passion in me to pull that out, to carry that forward. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
My name is John Straw, and I've been a member here for, since 1980. And I've been on the worship committee most of my time here. And I remember numerous times in the past when the worship committee discussed, should we or should we not send out in our weekly newsletter what the service is going to be about? And of course, we have chosen here transparency and sending out full information, knowing that, it might attract a few people to come on a particular Sunday, but it will also probably encourage a few people not to come on a particular Sunday. I have to admit, if I did not have a couple of responsibilities this Sunday, I might have chosen to stay home. I am so glad that I came. Thank you, Reverend Ross.
Thank you.
You have reminded me of some things that maybe I've kind of forgotten about how to be a better person, a better husband, a better father, a better grandfather. So this Sunday's message was of great impact and importance to me, so thank you.
Thank you.
And for all of us, just remember that. If you read in our newsletter something that, I don't think I'm interested, come.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
Right, and even, I am a humble guy, and I bring that up just in case you didn't notice. But if you read something in the weekly newsletter and I don't think I'm interested in that, well, you know what you're really going to miss? Coffee Time with Ray. So thank you very much for, your service, and I'd like to formally apologize or say, oops, boy, I wish we'd have known what we needed to do with the music. But learning to do this in the more extensive way we do now, it's always an adventure. So every day we're like on our edge going, okay, what are we going to get surprised with? And you handled that very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, now Mike gets to talk. Mike gets to talk.
I enjoyed your service. I think it's a good view on things. But you're a guest minister, and I found out that 20 years ago I used a bad word in candleline. So I'm going to choose to use a bad word now. I was with a group of people called badass bitches. If you want to know any more about those people, talk with me, okay? Yesterday, and I'm not too sure. They probably could use your service. No, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to stop talking. But Babs, if you want to know about Babs, talk to me.
No, I was invited, though. I will get there eventually. They are my people. But thank you for today's service. Thank you for being here and for going with our flow. And it does speak to me because I am wired for positivity. And you're right. And I feel like I love Flint. Flint loves me back. You know, and it can be a hard town, you know, and it's a hard love sometimes, but it is a love.
Yeah.
And the bowls, I mean, you literally, the vibration, you literally feel them. And it reminds you of church bells a little bit, but the church bells are almost more about church, where the bowls are more about you, it feels like.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that to us. And if there ever is a place that needs healing, it is Flint. And I wish we could get this out. You got me thinking.
Good.
Throughout the community. But thank you.
Good,
for
thank
this
you.
message.
Yeah, Flint definitely called to my heart when I discovered it in 2007. We moved here from Arizona and had never been to Michigan before, didn't really know people here, but the city of Flint called to my heart, and I love the spirit of the community. It's amazing.
I just wanted to reiterate what she said about the bowls. Those just, they touched my soul. You know, you got right to my soul with that music. It was so beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Oh, I thought the bowls were the music. I didn't miss the hymns or anything because I assumed that the bowls were supposed to be the music.
Good, wonderful. Yeah, I love the singing bowls. I've used them for a long time. I use them in every single healing service that I do. I use them in so many things, whether it's the sound baths or Reiki treatments or even massage. I always use the bowls with every single treatment because it does. It's like it touches the soul. It heals through the body, the mind, the soul, and so quickly it just goes in. The energy and the spirit of the bowls, I think, is amazing too. Yeah, thank you. I'm really glad to hear that from you. I always feel like it's an honor to be able to play them. So thank you.
I was in the office when you started playing before the service, and I heard those sounds, and it was like it was calling me to come in. I said, "Oh, I have got to go to that place where that music is." It was beautiful.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Wonderful.
So one of the things that's awesome is that we've listened, of course, we listen to other people who play these, and the bowls are amazing no matter who plays them. But when she plays them, it seems like she has a way of doing it where the rhythm and the choice of which bowl and which tone and the style in which she does it just seems to drill down into you, you know, in a way that a lot of other people that play them, the other people that play them, they play them amazingly and they sound amazing. But they don't seem to, at least for me, they don't seem to get to me emotionally like when she does it. So I think there's really something, I think she really puts her heart into it, and it really comes out through the sounds and the rhythms and stuff. It's really kind of amazing. So, who am I? I'm JJ. I'm her husband and chauffeur, and the list is long.
So JJ is the road crew. He's the roadie. Well, it looks like everybody had a chance to talk, so I'm thinking it's time to go have coffee if you're good with that.
Thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Thank
Don't
you.
ask me if you can watch.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Remember your wine.
Thank you for joining us.
Right, yeah. Remember, still cautious.
Thank you for joining us in today's service. The stream is now concluding.